begun!
The United States is suspending its participation in bilateral channels with Russia that were established to sustain the cessation of hostilities. This is not a decision we took lightly. The United States spared no effort in negotiating and attempting to implement an arrangement with Russia aimed at reducing violence, providing unhindered humanitarian access, and degrading terrorist organizations operating in Syria. Russia and the Syrian regime have chosen to pursue a military course inconsistent with the cessation of hostilities, is demonstrated by intensified attacks against civilian area, targeting of critical infrastructure such as hospitals, preventing humanitarian aid from reaching civilians in need.
Russia and Iran sign a new military agreement allowing Russian jets to use an Iranian airbase for anti-ISIL missions in Syria.
In an unprecedented move, Russia has begun using an airbase in Iran to conduct bombing missions over Syria. The Russian Defense Ministry says its long-range bombers have carried out airstrikes against Daesh from the west of Iran at the Hamadan airbase. It's thought to be the first time Russian military aircraft have been deployed from Iranian soil in half a century.
Russia's defense ministry said that Moscow has deployed Russian bombers to an Iranian airbase to widen its campaign in Syria. But these bombers have already targeted militant targets in Syria, Daesh in Syria.
International news now, where it seems there's increasing cooperation over Syria. It follows Iran allowing Russia to use an airbase, and now China saying it will offer military help to the Syrian government.
Learning that China is seeking closer military ties with Syria, a senior Chinese military official just visited Damascus, where he met with the Syrian defense minister. According to the agency, the Chinese and Syrian officials also talked about the possibility for China to provide military training and humanitarian aid to Syria. This talk about the possibility of China providing military training to Syrian government forces marks a change in China's more detached approach to the war in Syria.
China and Russia are permanent members of what's called the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Iran wants to become a member. There's about 17 countries in all that either are permanent members, partners, which also include Turkey, Iran, India, Pakistan, and all the countries in Central Asia. It is a large organization. What's intriguing is that Russia is pivoting more toward the east.
There's a storm coming.
You sound like you're looking forward to it.
I'm adapting.
No! They expect one of us in the wreckage, brother.
Have we started the fire?
Yes. The fire rises. Step forward those who would serve. For an army will be raised. The powerful will be ripped from their decadent nests. And cast out into the cold world that we know and endure. Courts will be convened. Spoils will be enjoyed. Blood will be shed. The police will survive as they learn to serve true justice. This great city, it will endure. Gotham will survive.
Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Hey, Shalom Akim, this is Ariala. First off, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Once again, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. I want to send double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and salutation to you brothers pushing this word, the truth, and sincerity, you know. And we're coming into some serious times. Now, the previous algorithms that were done have highlighted some of the things that we're going to go into today. And this algorithm is going to be called World War III algorithm, the perfect storm / the fire rises. Okay, now for some of you guys that may watch X22 Report with Dave, my man Dave, I like to watch X22 Report. He recently just did a show and he named it the perfect storm. And it was funny because me and the brother from England, Rukari Yaquam, were talking about the naming, what I was going to name this next algorithm, and it was just hours before Dave posted that video. We was talking about it, and we was talking about the perfect storm. Okay, because when you look out into things that are going on economically and geopolitically, the things that we've been talking about with propaganda and psyops. Okay, the wars and rumor of wars, how they use problem reaction solution and false flags to be able to make certain judgments and movements in the world. And then on the economic side, how they're making these moves in order to prepare the people for a change of the guard, so to speak, for a global reset, so to speak, under a whole nother financial idea. Okay, and we're seeing all these moves come together. And the show before this, if you brothers go onto GMS Dallas in class, there's a show we got, The Calm Before the Storm, where earlier this year I was talking about how things were going to calm down. It's going to be all good before, up until the time of the elections, and then this fall things will start to heat up. And man, we're barely into October. And there's so many things to talk about. We talk about World War III algorithm. I'm specifically just kind of talking about the moves that have been made as far as nation against nation, the wars and rumors of wars. And then I'm only really talking about the global economic situation and how the tides are turning to culminate in that mark of the beast. These things go hand in hand, okay? When you read in the book of Revelation and you go into that beast system, most of the time you're talking about military movements, war movements, the elect raising up, and then you kind of talking about geopolitical economic movements that are being made. All right, and you're seeing those things play themselves out in the planet Earth. That's why we call it an algorithm. This is not the so-called white man's algorithm. This is the Heavenly Father's algorithm. All right, He is the one orchestrating this thing in the minds of the people. Okay, He's the one that's masterminding all the movements that are being made all across the earth to culminate in the kingdom of God being established, in the kingdom of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai being established on the planet Earth. So all the people that watch my videos that don't understand what perspective we're coming from, this World War III algorithm, the result of it will be the nation of Israel, the true nation of Israel, Yashar Allah in the Hebrew, receiving that promise and rulership with power with the Heavenly Father Yahweh through His Son Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus. All right, a new global government is going to be established through that power and righteousness. This World War III algorithm is playing out to the destruction of the current ruler of this world, the Edomites. All right, the top elite families and down so forth and so on, because the Most High judges things by nations. All right, nations are gonna cause all this stuff to happen. Okay, and we're watching it. We're simply watching the Most High's algorithm play itself out on the planet Earth. So with no further ado, let's get into the lesson. Psalms chapter 52 verse 1. To the chief musician Mishkai, a psalm of David, when Doeg the Edomite came and told Saul and said unto him, David is come to the house of Amalek. Why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man? The goodness of the Most High endureth continually. Thy tongue deviseth mischiefs, like a sharp razor, working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness, Selah. Thou lovest all devouring words, O thou deceitful tongue. Alright, and this is the nature of the Edomite elite today. They use propaganda, they use their media to control the minds of the people, man. To influence the rulers of the world and the people of the world to move in certain directions. And so now we're seeing this happen on a global level. When you look at the situation with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and basically the political arrangement of it all, it's very similar to what's going on over there in Europe when they're using the Brexit versus basically globalism.
Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Janine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. First, my opening statement. What happened in England is going to happen again. Next stop, the United States. Next president, Donald J. Trump. What happened in the UK this week is just the beginning. The world is changing, and all you elite establishment, ruling class, condescending Washington bigwigs who think you know better than ordinary Americans are out. Start packing. Your days are numbered. Now, I told you this election was a revolution, but even I didn't know how big it would be. It's worldwide. The headlines scream it. The working class who toil every day to pay their rent and put food on their families' tables are tired of being lectured by the fat cats in Washington and Brussels who preach what we need and when we need it. The Brits, in a monumental upset, made their voices heard this week, voting to exit the European Union. You know, the place with open borders, the one that's being overrun by immigrants as they watch their economies falter? Similarly, Americans fed up with this "We Are the World" song and dance will catapult Donald Trump to the White House.
So you have Hillary, who is the representation of a global world, a united front. You know, that's why they link her to the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay, and how she's down for the cause. She's down for black people. She fought for civil rights and everything like that. She's for this global world. Even her economic view is just like inclusion and globalism.
You may have heard Hillary's opponent in this election say that there's never been a worse time to be a black person. I mean, he missed that whole civics lesson about slavery and Jim Crow. But we got a museum for him to visit. So he can tune in. We will educate him. He says we got nothing left to lose. So we might as well support somebody who has fought against civil rights and fought against equality and who has shown no regard for working people for most of his life. Well, we do have challenges, but we're not stupid. We know the progress we've made, despite the forces of opposition, despite the forces of discrimination, despite the politics of backlash. And we intend to keep fighting against those forces.
Versus Donald Trump, who is let's make America great again. A sovereign mind that's saying we need to clamp down on globalism. We need to clamp down on mixing it up with other people, and we need to secure America. You know, and so in the media, what do you see playing out? You're seeing Trump being vilified. The idea and what he represents is stupid and barbaric and doesn't make any sense. You know, and you even have it to where you got Black Lives Matter protesters attacking Trump supporters, which is just fueling the flames of race against race. It's also fueling the flames of because they're justified in the media. Well, he deserves to get punched. He deserves to get kicked. Anybody with those radical, stupid ideas of sovereignty and nationalism, they need to be punished. And you have the same thing happening over there in Europe, man. Okay, where the people who are nationalists are being vilified as terrorists. They're shooting up places. They're being deemed as radical. And they've been shown basically that they need to be taken care of by the government. The government is going to be needed to control these people. All right, and so they use these different opposing forces to do what? To have more control and more power. Problem, reaction, solution. Okay? You got a nationalist fighting the globalists. They fight. It comes to a conflict. What is the answer? Oh, we need to come together even better under more broad rules that give away your freedoms in more ambiguous ways. Okay? So you see that playing out. Okay? So he's always using a lying tongue. He's always using that propaganda within the media to set things up. Okay? This is Psalm chapter 64, verse 2. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot arrows, even bitter words. That they may shoot in secret at the perfect, suddenly do they shoot at them, and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? So they don't think anybody is going to be able to pick up or do anything about the movements that they making in the backdoor deals, man. That's why you got George Soros funding the Black Lives Matter movement, funding the terrorists going in throughout Europe, all the refugees that are moving throughout Europe. Okay. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is known to have funded ISIS, training them up in Syria and giving them weapons out of Saudi Arabia. All these things are hand in hand, man. And it plays together in the algorithm. Okay? So I want to read this article real quick. This is from brother sent this to me, www.bloomberg.com. Bloomberg Markets. The title is Backlash to World Economic Order clouds outlook at IMF talks. Okay? Because that's really what how all this stuff is going to be consolidated under, man. The International Monetary Fund. If you go back to one of the previous algorithms, I did one called The Big Picture. And so we talk about the International Monetary Fund and how basically they're playing the game on both sides so they can come together and have financial control of all these nations. Okay? This was written October 3rd, 2016. Let's read. It says, policy-making elites converge on Washington this week for meetings that epitomize a faith in globalization that's at odds with the growing backlash against the inequities it creates. Because it's just the rich and the top corporate elite getting rich, man. Meanwhile, the middle class is being destroyed. All right? No growth is in the markets, man. So people's wages are decreasing. Meanwhile, but what they have to pay for increases. Okay? So there's backlash happening. All right? from Britain's vote to leave the European Union to Donald Trump's championing of America First. Pressures are mounting to roll back the economic integration that has been a hallmark of gatherings of the IMF and World Bank for more than 70 years. Okay? And that's within the scriptures. Okay, when you go into the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, all right, and let's go to the 4th verse. It says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine," meaning his philosophies, his doctrine, his policies, his legislation, "he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heap unto him all people." And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the expansion of the Edomite hegemony, so-called white man's hegemony, the Western world. All right, and these elites have used these different financial and military institutions to spread its tentacles and take over everything. All right. Because once you sign that International Monetary Fund contract, they got you, man. They transgressed by wine. Okay? And they create the situations where these nations go bankrupt. So they have to need a loan. All right? And we've seen that happen all across the world, man. All across the world. Greece is a great example of that happening right now, man. You saw them bankrupt these last few years. And now you got a situation coming up where these corporations like Deutsche Bank, all right, are being bailed out by the government, man. Showing you fascism.
Global economic collapse could be right around the corner as Deutsche Bank publicly reveals it is quickly rotting into oblivion. Many in the financial and political spectrum are suggesting the only way to prevent Deutsche Bank from a collapse is to prepare to bail it out. This is of course against the EU policies, but that hasn't stopped them before and may not stop them again. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. This is the biggest news right now. As you can see, a major bank is right here at the very edge, ready to collapse. You're not talking about some small bank that could be bailed out very easily. This is a little tricky. This is too big to fail. And we know exactly what happened last time, where they injected literally trillions of dollars into the system and still have not been able to maintain any growth. But surely you know that. German officials could be about to find themselves in an uncomfortable position, being called on to show that they're ready to rescue, bailout, a bank in part of the world where such operations are considered taboo, so they're not allowed.
Okay. Let's go back to the article. It says, fed by stagnant wages and diminishing job security, the populist uprising threatens to depress a world economy that International Monetary Fund Managing Director Christine Lagarde says is already weak and fragile. Okay. It says the calls for less integration and more trade barriers also pose risks for elevated financial markets that remain susceptible to sudden swings in investor sentiment, as underscored by recent jitters over Frankfurt-based Deutsche Bank, a Deutsche Bank AG's financial health. Okay, and so we're seeing how Deutsche Bank, the biggest bank in Germany, is losing all its shares. People are bailing out of their company rapidly, and if they don't prop this bank up, it could cause total economic turmoil in Europe, which would leak over into Japan and different Asian markets, and it could cause a great collapse. Okay, And that's in the scriptures. All of this is in the scriptures, because when you keep reading here on Habakkuk, the next verse says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that laden himself with thick clay. Okay, and so that's why you're seeing this popular sentiment, that's what they called it. All right, against the global trade and the expansion of the International Monetary Fund / World Bank dominance. Okay, and we always get this word thick clay here in the Hebrew. We talk about that at Batyat, and what does it mean? Weight of pledges, heavy debts. Okay, so the people are tired of this system of debt that's controlling the whole world. Okay, let's keep reading in this article. The backlash against globalization is manifesting itself in increased nationalistic sentiment against the outside world and in favor of increasing isolation, says Luis Kuj, head of Asia Economics at Oxford Economics in Hong Kong, and a former International Monetary Fund official. If we lose consensus on what kind of world we want to have, the world will probably be worse off. In its latest World Economic Outlook released Tuesday, the fund highlighted the threats from the anti-trade movement to an already subdued global expansion. After growth of 3.2% in 2015, the world economy's expansion will slow to 3.1% this year, before rebounding at 3.4% in 2017, according to the report. Keeping those estimates unchanged from July projections, the forecast for U.S. growth will cut to 1.6% this year and 2.2% in 2017. We'd like to see an end to the creeping protectionism in the world and more progress on moving ahead with free trade agreements and other trade creating measures, Maurice Osfield, director of IMF's research department, said in a Bloomberg television interview. All right, and so how are they doing that? Recently, on October 1st, and we talked about this also, like I said in that previous algorithm video, the big picture, there was an announcement that China will be included into the SDR basket, man, the special drawn rights basket, allowing more trade to happen between these between all these different countries, man.
But globally, tomorrow will be the official day. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna be, it's something that we're not gonna, tomorrow's just gonna be a normal day, right? College football, all the things that are going on, it's gonna be a normal day for many people. But for us that are studying this thing and we know what's going on around the world and we know how significantly the world is going to be changing in this global reset, it's a day to understand historically what has just happened, and how our lives are going to be drastically changing here in the next 6 to 12 months because of this move by the SDRs, and by the IMF, including the Chinese yuan into the SDRs. Okay, and then we sit back and we think about the countries that are that do only deals in dollars, and we sit back and we say, wow, what is 3 years going to look like for them if they don't make changes now? Because we understand that this SDRs, with the activation of the Chinese yuan, is going to start to remove the transactions of US dollars, for oil, for petrodollar, and for other country to country transactions will no longer, will slowly but surely, and they'll start to speed up by December, it'll be done in SDRs because of the Chinese yuan being activated into it. Transactions by country to country will be done in SDRs instead of the US dollar. And so the dollar will start to slowly come back to America. All the dollars we printed will slowly come back to America. And then that we will start to see the effects of it probably about December into into March of next year, the effects of the dollar starting to come back slowly into America. Food prices are going to rise. A lot of things are going to rise. Hyperinflation is going to start to kicking. And eventually it's going to get to that point where you need to make a decision for your family and friends. That's why.
Thank you, colleagues, and thank you particularly to the Chinese team and to all those at the IMF who've worked really hard over the last few months to come to what I'm announcing now. I'm very pleased to announce that tomorrow, October 1st, 2016, the special drawing right basket will become effective, the new basket, because as of tomorrow, the renminbi will be considered by the international community as a freely usable international currency and will join the basket of the special drawing rights together with the US dollar, the euro, the yen, and the British pound. The expansion of the SDR basket is a historical milestone for the SDR, for the fund, but more importantly for China and for the international monetary system. It is a significant change for the SDR basket because this is the first time in its history that it is being expanded. The inclusion of the renminbi in the special drawing right basket will further diversify it and will make its composition more representative of the global currencies and the global economy. It is a significant change for the fund because since the euro, this is the first time that a new currency is included to that basket, which means that going forward, the fund will use the renminbi in its financial operations, as will many other institutions. This is also a significant change for China and for the international monetary system. It is an important step in the integration of the Chinese economy into the global financial and monetary system. The renminbi's inclusion reflects the progress made in reforming China's monetary, foreign exchange, and financial systems. And it acknowledges the advances made in liberalizing and improving the infrastructure of the financial markets. The continuation and deepening of these efforts with appropriate safeguards will bring about a more robust international monetary and financial system, which in turn will be good for the stability and growth of China and of the international economy. So today, this milestone reflects the significant evolution of the global economy. It also demonstrates that the fund is determined to serve and guide its membership and to accompany and adjust to the changes. Thank you very much.
All right. So there you have it from Chief Christine Lagarde, that the Chinese yuan is going to be activated tomorrow into the SDR basket. You know, I remember 3 years ago when I was telling people that China was going to rise into power, and they were going to do it with the help of Russia. I even had one guy block me and called me all types of names. I wonder where that guy is at now. Because China, with this inclusion and with the help of Russia, not just Russia, but North Korea and the power of Iran that is coming. They're going to be the new world leaders. And we're going to see the dollar start to fall. Are you prepared for that? Are you ready? There's nothing to be scared about because we've already studied this for years. I'm asking you, are you prepared for a new world? Tomorrow's the global reset. It's a new world. Many do not understand it. So we have to teach people. We have to teach them the new world that's coming. We don't want people to fail. We don't want people to fall. We don't want people to fear. Education is the key, right? Education is the key to teaching people about this new world that we're about to be into, that we can clearly see, but 99% of the world who go to work and do other things cannot see.
Outside of what? The petrodollar system that's under attack right now. All right, and the U.S. is trying to protect this petrodollar system in Syria right now. Meanwhile, the IMF is already prepared for a collapse either way, showing you how they're playing both sides. Okay? The International Monetary Funds and the elite that run it expect out of the ashes of all the destruction of whether it's World War III literally or economic upheaval to have something prepared for you. Okay? A whole new system already prepared for you. Alright? And you brothers will see the clips and we'll put them in there. Alright? And so they need the wars and rumors of wars, like it says here in Matthew 24:6. Matthew 24:6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For a nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Okay? And we're seeing all of that culminate now, man. All over again. All these things just are happening in succession in time, in a dispensation of time, how Yahweh Shem Yahushua wants it. And we're seeing there's nothing new under the sun. These things are just playing themselves out according to the word. Okay? Back into this article, it says Lagarde said last week that policymakers attending the October 7th through 9th annual meeting of the IMF and World Bank have two tasks. First, do no harm, which above all means resisting the temptation to throw up protectionist barriers to trade. And second, take action to boost lackluster global growth and make it more inclusive. All right? And so that's how they feel like including the yuan is going to bring growth into the economy, or they're using that saying to justify it. Okay? When you keep reading it here, let me see. Yes. Rattled by the UK's June vote to leave the EU, European leaders know it may just be the start of a political earthquake that's threatening the continent's old certainties. Next year sees elections in Germany and France. We talk about Germany and France in the previous algorithm video, geopolitical alliances, and how Germany and France are teeter-tottering from trading out of the EU and trading out of NATO. All right, because they have trade deals with Russia and Iran, and they benefit from both sides currently, man. But they speak, in favor of the West because it's good for them. All right, for now. You can see that as these wars are going on in Syria. You can see that as the proxy war with ISIS is happening in and around the Eurozone, all up in Europe. Okay, Germany knows that the U.S. is behind a lot of this, man.
The primordial interest of the United States, over which for a century we have fought wars, the First, Second Cold War, has been the relationship between Germany and Russia, because united they are the only force that could threaten us, and to make sure that that doesn't happen. The issue to which we don't have the answer is, what will Germany do? So the real wild card in Europe is that as the United States builds this cordon sanitaire, not in Ukraine, but to the west, and the Russians try to figure out how to leverage the Ukrainians out, we don't know the German position. Germany is in a very peculiar position. Its former Chancellor, Gerhard Schroeder, is on the board of Gazprom. They have a very complex relationship to the Russians. The Germans themselves don't know what to do. They must export. The Russians can't take up the export. On the other hand, if they lose the free trade zone, they need to build something different. For the United States, the primordial fear is Russian capital, Russian technology, German technology and German capital, Russian natural resources, Russian manpower, as the only combination that has for centuries scared the hell out of the United States. So how does this play out? Well, the US has already put its cards on the table. It is the line from the Baltics to the Black Sea. For the Russians, their cards have always been on the table. They must have at least a neutral Ukraine, not a pro-Western Ukraine. Belarus is another question. Now, whoever can tell me what the Germans are going to do is going to tell me about the next 20 years of history. But unfortunately, the Germans haven't made up their mind. And this is the problem of Germany always. Enormously economically powerful, geopolitically very fragile, and never quite knowing how to reconcile the two. Ever since 1871, this has been the German question, the question of Europe. Think about the German question, because now it's coming up again. That's the next question that we have to address. And we don't know how to address it. We don't know what they're going to do.
Next year sees elections in Germany and France, the Euro area's two largest economies, and in the Netherlands. In all three countries, anti-establishment forces are gaining ground, with growing resentment of the EU from Budapest to Madrid. Policymakers have described the current surge in populism as the greatest threat to the bloc since its creation out of the ashes of World War II. Okay? Now that transitions into another topic. Because after the time of World War II, when you get up into the Treaty of Rome being established and basically NATO being formulated, or the EU also being formulated, that's when you have the rise of this beast system, man. Okay? And so now you're starting to see the players that are going to come to an head in World War III.
Beam me up, Scotty. Beam me up, Scotty.
Excursion.